This is a man that you're walking down next to Brighton Beach, and on the street you just see him as some homeless guy. Most of the time we walk past them as if they're invisible. But when you sit and speak to this man, this human being, you realise how similar he is to you. I can see how, had I been put on the same path, things might have been the same for me. Speaking to him is a lesson in empathy.
I grew up without a father, so I was always looking for someone to tell me what the hell to do. I think that can be a natural reaction for people that don't grow up with two parents. I was very much in love with doing military things, going to cadets, understanding this. I was happy doing that. So it became a natural progression from finishing school to then just sign up and go into the military.
When did the point come where you were like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, and why?
It came after the second tour, Afghanistan. I'd already done Kosovo, Bosnia and Iraq, but Afghanistan was a completely different kind of war. It was a different type of conflict. I felt at one point, I felt in my stomach that I'm not going to live, I'm not going to see my 30th birthday. It came to that close to, I just don't feel like, I feel like it's my time.
To just stop?
Yeah, I felt like I was not going to live. I felt like, okay, I'm young enough to go and do something else. I'm young, I know, and I'm old enough now to know that there is something else out there. The military takes a very big thing about telling you that civilian life, there's nothing there. There's nothing in civilian life for you. Like they put you on a kind of a pedestal to say that, all right, you're in the military, so you're better than civilians, so there's nothing in Civvy Street for you. This is everything that you need to know. Everything you need is right here. And that's correct, everything is there. They feed you, they house you, they clothe you, they pay you. But all of that does not represent the value of your life. To be a soldier is to commit yourself, your whole body, yourself, everything about you to this job, to that life. You're led to believe that you are the shield between the bad people and the good people. You are that shield. Your body is that shield. That's what they're paying you for, to use your body as a shield against the rest of the world. You're just doing your job. You're doing what you're trained to. Because of the way that they train you, the excitement of being in conflict is inside of you. You want to go to war. You want to go to war because you spend so much time training to do that job. You want to put that job into practice.
What's it like when you're actually in conflict?
You want to go home. There is a huge buzz about it. I miss it. There's a huge buzz about when bullets and things are going off around you and bombs and explosions. Your heart is going 100%. Nothing can give you that adrenaline rush. Yeah. It is a huge rush to do that. And all of your actions and everything that happens around you, from giving someone medical care because your friend's leg's just blown off, to all these other things, becomes second nature because it's the way they train you. It's the way you think about it. You don't have time to have empathy. It's just not there. I know a lot of guys that have got married and divorced, or guys that have got married very recently. One particular friend, he got married, a few weeks later he never came home again. And we were all at the wedding, and then we were all in conflict with the guy, and we just have to deal with that. The army doesn't want to talk to you about your feelings. The only feeling that it wants to deal with is aggression. Being able to, the thing that they train you to do is to be able to be normal, and then completely switch 1000% into the most aggressive person that you can possibly be. It's the same as the spirit of breaking of an elephant. They build it into you. They break you down through so many levels of training.
Why are you choosing the elephant? Because when I think of breaking something, I think of breaking a horse.
Because I spent a long time in Asia. And
what is the process of breaking an elephant?
It starts off when they're very young, and they're kept in a very confined. They use a 9 to 10 inch bamboo post. They put 6 to 8 posts around, and the elephant is trapped in the middle and tied down in the middle. To break the elephant's spirit, they use this big claw hook as well as metal stab hooks and stuff, and they just keep beating the elephant until it gives up, until the will comes out of the elephant, and that goes on for several years.
And what's the purpose of it? The elephant just does what they want?
So tourists can sit on it.
When you leave the army, sorry to ask, but how do you get your humanity back? How do you get your spirit back.
I went completely off the rails, I think, like most soldiers do. I think like the percentage of homeless people in the UK is something like 60-70% of them are ex-forces. When you come back and you have to start, you for an example, if you go out on tour and you've just spent 5 or 6 months away, and next thing, within 24 hours, you're walking down the street in your hometown, and everybody around you is normal. I think if you come out and you have a solid family around you, that can make a huge difference.
Okay.
I wasn't lucky enough to have a solid family around me. I've always ended up being quite an individual. So when I come out, I just took a downward spiral. I didn't know who I was, which was the big thing, because you're part of a big system, which is the institutionalization, which people don't seem to talk about enough. It's the same if you went to prison for a long time. I did try to go and do a normal job. I tried just doing like a security guard in a store, but then I looked at other people and the way that they talk to each other within business, within like, oh, you're an employee, you're the boss. But even the way that they talk to each other, to me, was just abnormal. It's just like, well, how can you talk to your boss like that? How can you be like that? How can you be so lazy? I just don't understand lazy people. And all of that it's a huge shock to me. It's a big involvement in drinking, a big involvement in drinking in the military. Everything is geared up around drinking, because drinking can make your mind switch between two different things. Where you can go out drinking all night with all of your mates, and then the next morning you'll get up at 6 a.m. and go for a 10-mile run. That's normal. It's not a problem. And as soon as you finish work, you go back to the pub, because it's the only way that you can relax, is to drink and unwind.
And is it encouraged as well? Is it like...
Yeah. There's always like lots of functions all involving drinking. Oh, let's go to like the Royal Artillery Museum in London. And it's an excuse to go drinking in the city. That's all it is. Everything is involved around drinking. So a lot of soldiers drink a hell of a lot, and I did as well. I drank a hell of a lot. And when I came out for the first 6 months, I was drinking like crazy, absolutely, and getting myself into trouble, getting myself into fights. Meeting new people, but I just didn't understand civilians. I didn't understand them at all. I didn't understand their mentality. I didn't understand why two people don't look after each other properly. That was quite new. And then from there, I just spiraled down more, and then got into drugs as well, because I didn't understand myself. But I did know that drinking was not for me at that point. I knew it was causing me to be just completely out of control. For a year and a half, almost 2 years, I was in a real big mess. I ended up homeless 3 times. I lived on the beach in Brighton for about 3 months as well. And I didn't have the family support that I needed, because I'd burnt those bridges. I just from not caring, not having empathy about other people around me, none of it, because that wasn't installed in me.
What does being on your own feel like to a human being? Because most people aren't.
I'm happy with my own company.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with my own company, and I think that reclusiveness is still inside of me. Even when I'm around people, I can still feel like I'm alone. Yeah. But when you're around other soldiers, you don't feel alone. Okay. You don't feel alone at all, because maybe they haven't had the same experiences or even been in conflict, or they're just new soldiers, but you know what they're going through. They know what you've been through. I've always grown up and liked dancing and loved music, and I was going to a lot of different events and things around in Brighton, but every time I'd go there, I'd look at them in a completely different way. It was like, oh, what are you missing? What's not good about this? Why isn't this as good as I remember it when I was younger? Yeah. So that inspired me to go into doing my own events management, to putting on my own musical events, because I knew I could do it better than the people that are doing it now. Yeah. That's always been inside of me. I can do this better than you, and I know I can, and I'm proving it as well at the same time. This gave me a completely different lease of life. This was the turning point where I knew that I can do a lot better than what I currently am doing. Yeah. When I was hiring people to bring speakers in, I wasn't happy with the quality of them. And I thought I could do better. I can build them better. I know I can. And because of that, I decided to go to college at night and become a joiner and a carpenter. Mm-hmm. Put myself at college doing joinery and carpentry to understand the sheer basics of how a speaker is designed, how it's made. I had a younger brother who is an electrician, and that quite inspired me. He was extremely good at his job, and I thought, you know, I really need to get a trade.
Yeah.
I need something that I can use for the rest of my life. And carpentry and joinery it came very natural to me, to understand how things go together, to reverse engineer things, to take it apart and put it back together so that I can build it myself better. I've always been a very, very keen dancer. I've always, at a younger age, gone to a lot of big raves, a lot of big parties, and always been influenced by it. But not so much to do with the environment in which music creates, but the sound that comes out of speakers, the loudness of it, the way it affects your body, the blood flow.
What does it do to your body?
Certain sound pressure and sound waves are really good for you. They're good for your blood flow. Like the bass signal that comes from speakers is good for your blood flow. And I really like that. I like that idea of that. I think that's quite amazing. And to stand in front of a big stack of speakers is a complete heaven to me. Well, I went to Stonehenge for the summer solstice once. Yeah. With some friends of mine that I was quite close to at the time. I spent maybe 7 or 8 hours just crying. I had a huge release of emotion all at the same time, which I'd never experienced before in my life. I felt like it was the first time I knew how to cry. And that was a turning point within itself. Just understanding that I'm a human being and that, yeah, crying is okay, it's not a bad thing. And now I feel very comfortable with that. I can talk about a lot of different things, about the military, about how graphic, about a lot of things, but it doesn't change me inside. No. I could talk about it all day long, but it doesn't change me inside. I want to have children. I want to be the father that I never had. But I also understand, psychologically, I understand that my father left me, and that's inside me, and I'm scared about that. I think it has a massive impact on every influential thing that you do in your life. If you are not brought up in a stable relationship and family that's around you, that you can see happening, that you can see working, then those things need to be taught to you. You need to learn them, and I think they're very big blocks to learn. How do you put together those initial building blocks to make the rest of it work? That's the problems I'm having. I have all of the opportunities and the people around me to do that right now, but I still don't know how to connect them.
What do you think the tools are that are out there for you or for any of us?
I think it's great to have belief. I think it's great to believe in things. For me personally, I don't believe in the religious system because I know it's just a business. From being and seeing what I've done in the world, religion is just a business. It's a way of controlling people. And I don't feel like I want to be a part of that. But I do really respect people that have faith in something, because that can be extremely strong inside somebody.
Do you think it's something that you would seek out in life when you're trying to find the answers, or do you think that you're going to take a different path? There are other ways to find the answers for you.
I think it's yourself. I think that each and every one of us, we're all gods. We're all capable of giving and taking life. I don't think there is one God. I don't think there's one person up there that's created everything, not at all. Because each and every one of us are capable of making life and taking life, which is exactly how people perceive God to be.
And do you believe that when our lives end, that's it?
No. That's why one of the things I like about Asia is the Buddhism and stuff that is around, because reincarnation, your spirit traveling, I really believe in that. I believe that I have in me, I come from somewhere, from somebody else that was a warrior before, and that's come through me, and I think that those things are inside people. The previous lives, I think your spirit does keep traveling and keep moving on.
Have there been any other elements or moments in your life where you've seen or felt extreme joy?
Apart from dancing in front of big speakers?
Yeah, no, not the adrenaline and that, but just another example, or do you think there is one?
From working on the festival scene within the UK and Europe, there's a small group of you that put this whole thing together, and then eventually a couple of you sit on top of a hill and watch all of these really happy people. That gratification is amazing. I think that's truly amazing. Building stuff for people as a carpenter and a joiner, building houses for people, knowing that someone's going to be happy living in this place. Building small objects and giving people like a jewellery box or something like this. It's something that they want, something that makes them happy. That makes me happy. But I don't understand how I make myself happy without doing that. Yeah. There's some homeless people that live just up the street here, and within where I'm working at the moment, you're not allowed to give away food and stuff because they get sued for food poisoning or whatever. So I do it off my own back. Yeah. I'll put loads of all it so this stuff's not getting wasted. So there's a big function, lots of spare food. I'll pack it all up myself and then go and give it to somebody. Yeah. I won't say where it's from. It's from me. Yeah. It's not from them. It's from me, and it's to them. It's such a simple thing to do. Oh, I feel quite happy about that. That's quite a nice thing. Yeah. They're happy. Got some food. They got some shelter for the night. Yeah. A basic necessity. I have trouble dealing with empathy and I have trouble dealing with other emotions, but it's such a big learning curve. Yeah. Most people, it can be very natural. I don't feel like that. No. Just a night ago, I had a late night conversation with my girlfriend because sharing emotions and feelings constantly every day and stuff is really not normal. No. I think it's quite difficult, but catch me at the right time, I'll quite happily just talk about whatever and get very emotional about that, but it's very difficult. I had my mother there. She's taking care of us and children, but in a very difficult position. And I think if I had more moral support from my mother and having the basic of having a father there as well, then maybe my condition, the way I see things, the way I approach things would be completely different. One of the saving graces for a lot of people that come out of the military is having a close family around them. Otherwise, the suicide and death rate would be a lot more. Yeah. A lot more than what it is right now, and it's already very high. Medically, post-traumatic stress isn't just the army, it's your life. My life was very disturbed when I was younger, and that's post-traumatic stress. Watching violence when you're young, that's post-traumatic stress. Everything about it is. Yeah. It's not just something you receive because you've been in a war zone. It's something that's around you in your life. If you had a car crash, I hope you never do, honestly. If you had that's post-traumatic stress. You have to deal with that. Yeah. And it's something that the military say we're trying to help, but to get that kind of help, if you haven't lost a limb or something, to get help for something that you can't see, that's not something the government wants to deal with. The help is there, but you have to jump through so many hoops that are on fire to be able to get that help. It's unbelievable. And then it just makes you want to give up. When I was looking through online, I was looking for inspirational quotes, things that can help me, things that make sense to me. And every day when I was sat at my desk, I was writing a new message to myself, a new message of encouragement. And the one that stuck more than anything was day in and day out, because like the military, you do things day in, you do it day out. You create a repetitive circle to be able to constantly learn something. You have to do it. If you want to become great at anything, you have to make it muscle memory. You have to make it a part of you, a part of your life. You have to do it day in and you have to do it day out. The secret to life is knowing that you are the most powerful person in your life. You can create anything you want in your life if you want it enough. It's as simple as that. If you want to be a millionaire in 1 year, you will be a millionaire in 1 year. If you want it enough. If you truly want something, you can be anything that you want to be. You just got to keep doing it, day in and day out, day in and day out, and become the thing that you want to be. It's the only way you can become anything.
What do you want, day in and day out?
I want to feel happy. I think it's hard to realise happiness is around you. Yeah. I think it's hard to realise that you're in a happy situation. Being in so many countries and being in impoverished countries and spending time in impoverished countries, knowing that these people are so extremely wealthy in their life. They're not asset rich, they're not cash rich, but they are wealthy in love, in life, in happiness, they're content. And you can't see that in the Western world in a lot of things. It's very difficult to find people that are just content. But being in Asia, sitting on a street with a couple of Asian men, eating some food, it just feels content. I feel like I've got no worries, I've got no problems. All I need to do is make sure we've got some food on the table, we've got somewhere to sleep. It's the basic human needs. And someone to love, or someone that loves you. That love doesn't have to necessarily come in the form of a relationship with somebody else, man, woman, man, woman. I think just love, a friend. I think that's the basic need. Just even having a friend.
The basic human need, the basic thing that everybody, without a shadow of a doubt, says, it's love. We need love.
In some form or another. Yeah, definitely. And I'm happy and content with myself and who I am and everything. I love myself because I can be alone with myself for a long time and be happy. But you still need input. You need input. You can't sit on an island like Tom Hanks talking to Wilson. You need input. You need it to talk back to you. You can't just keep giving your responses. You need to take responses in, don't you? Hence change.
One of the key aspects of Grant's character that I picked up is that there is a level of fragility and vulnerability, and then it almost runs parallel with an absolute steely conviction, as if he's the elephant that wouldn't be broken. That vision is very, very hard. It's almost a shock to the senses. But you're speaking to an individual who has spent his life having his senses shocked. And he seems to be able to deal with it. He seems to be able to contain it. And that's not something that you see very often. Here's a man who's been through the most harrowing circumstances. And so many people come out of the army and traumatic situations and they end up on the streets. They end up drug addicts. They end up letting their entire life fall apart. Grant hasn't let that happen. He stood up and said, I don't know what the answers are, but I'm going to do my damnedest to figure it out. And in that sense, he is a beacon of hope and light. He's an example of a human being who's shining light on the darkness.